And as you can see, we brought in John Gong, professor of economics at the University of International Business and Economics, to help walk us through this one. Thanks, John, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. What this suit is all about is the interpretation of what is called the GATT Agreement Article 21 concerning the national security exemption, as your reporter has just said. But the issue is that the national security, this phrase itself actually never appears in that Article 21. Article 21 actually refers to something called essential security interests. And if you look at the exact wording of that, it's clearly referring only to strictly defense and military related matters, okay? But over the time, I think it's not just starting with the United States. Several other countries have also broadly interpret this, the meaning of this phrase, essential security interests. At one time, I actually delivered a speech at a conference in Portugal talking exactly about this issue. Right. I call this a total adulteration of national security. Today, national security encompasses many aspects. For example, national economic security becomes the issue. Economic sovereignty, for example, becomes part of national security. National economic competitiveness, national technology competitiveness, terrorism, cross-border crimes, corruption, pandemic.
Yeah, John, and it seems that
competition with China, they're all becoming part of the national security. That's the issue. I think that's the essence of this debate at the WTO.
And John, it seems like that's exactly what the U.S. appears to be trying to do right now. So how are other countries going to respond to this? And your thoughts on how this could affect other nations?
Yeah, so historically, the WTO has been relying on other countries' self-restraint in terms of interpreting this exemption clause. And I think over time, it has been, WTO has been doing a fairly good job of maintaining some kind of an order regarding this issue. But now I think, with the United States taking a very strong position on this, it's actually a 180-degree turn in my view. In 2012, there was actually a joint statement between the United States and the European Union exactly about this issue. It advocates a narrowly tailored reviews of national security considerations. But of course, today, Washington has totally reversed course. And I think, given Washington's position on this, in my view, the United States being a very important member of WTO, I think this issue is falling apart, essentially. Right. I think even though the panel, the appellate panel can deliver a ruling, for example, but I think it's just going to be ignored by Washington.
So let's talk about the complaint process. Does the WTO have any teeth? What can they do to enforce its rulings? And what's next since an agreement simply has not been reached?
Well, eventually it's going to an appellate body to make a ruling. The problem is that the appointment of the judges on this the appellate court, essentially, is actually being stalled by Washington. I'm not even sure that the matter will be taken to that panel for a judgment, for delivery. So I don't know what's going to happen. But I think even if it indeed there's a ruling coming out of the WTO appellate body, I don't think it's going to be enforced, it's going to be implemented by Washington anyway.
But let me ask you, because internationally, everybody's seen the spat that has broken out over balloons and allegations of surveillance. How do you think this spat is going to affect the semiconductor conversation?
Well, I think it further enforces, the Washington's determination to enforce the semiconductor ban. I think previously there's wide consensus among the political aliens in Washington regarding the China policy, but now with this, white balloon hanging up in the sky, broadcast 24/7 across the TV channels for all American people to see that. I think the consensus actually, sadly, is becoming not just among the political aliens, but also among the American people as well. It's essentially becoming like a Sputnik moment in my view, and I think the American public opinion about China is just getting permanently damaged, and I think it further enforces the political environment for supporting the semiconductor ban.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't bode well for the world's two largest economies. Let's talk about some of the other disputes between the United States and China that are brewing. TikTok, for example.
Well, That's an interesting issue. You know, the restrictions on companies and operating in another country, you know, in the past has happened in China, right? And we all know that. But today it's the other way around. We are seeing great Chinese companies in America being essentially targeted, being censored, in my view. You know, it's not just starting from the Biden administration. The TikTok issue was an issue even during the Trump administration. Remember, at one point Trump was talking about essentially breaking it up or forcing it to have a joint venture with American company. Larry Ellison, Oracle CEO, you know, at one time was thinking about having an investment in TikTok. Think about this. I mean, this is the kind of things happening in China in the 1980s, 1990s.
Yeah.
Today, it's happening in the United States. You know, it's kind of a surprising and quite interesting to see that's happening right now.
John, it's always a pleasure. We're joined by John Gong, professor of economics at the University of International Business and Economics. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.